everyone, it's Christina, and I am sad to say that this will be my last nutrition video I will be doing for all of you. So for the final video, we will be talking about how to make foods last longer. So why do we care if our foods last longer? First, it reduces waste because less food will be thrown out. Next, it saves time because you will not have to go to the grocery store as often to replace items that went bad. Finally, wasted food equals wasted money, so by wasting less food due to proper storage, you will save money. So what will you need to be able to store your items to make them last longer? I would recommend a few plastic storage containers, plastic wrap, and gallon-sized Ziploc baggies. You can get these items from a low price at most dollar stores, grocery stores, or superstores such as Walmart. Now that we've gone over why we want our foods to last longer and what you'll need in order to store your foods properly, we can now start getting into tips for making your foods last longer. The first tip is to make sure your refrigerator is at the right temperature. Refrigerators should be at 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below, and freezers should be at 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below. A temperature dial that you can turn to adjust the temperature is located in most refrigerators, so look at that to make sure it is set low enough. Opening the doors to the refrigerator and freezer will cause the temperature to rise, so you will want to set the temperature to slightly less than 40 degrees in the refrigerator and slightly less than 0 degrees in the freezer. However, just because the temperature dial is set for a certain temperature does not mean that the refrigerator is actually that temperature. To make sure that your refrigerator and freezer are at the right temperature, it is highly recommended to use a thermometer to check the temperature. If you do not have a thermometer, that is okay. You'll want to check the food in the freezer to make sure it is completely frozen through. If it's not, make sure to turn the temperature down some. Testing the temperature of the refrigerator, on the other hand, without a thermometer is a little bit trickier. You can place a container of water in the fridge for several hours, and then pull the container out to look for condensation or moisture on the outside of the container soon after you pull it out. You are probably in the right range if you see this happen quickly. However, if condensation does not appear quickly or at all, the temperature of your refrigerator probably needs to be turned down. On the other hand, also make sure that the water in your container did not start turning to ice. Otherwise, your fridge is slightly too cold and the temperature will need to be turned up a little bit. If your refrigerator has crisper drawers like the ones you see in the picture here, then use those to store your vegetables. It will make your vegetables last longer and you can keep them in their original packaging when you place them in there. Lettuce can quickly go from fresh and crisp to sad, wilted, and slimy if it's not stored correctly. As soon as you get home from the store, be sure to transfer the lettuce to an appropriate storage container. A plastic bag or a plastic storage container will work wonderfully. Add a few sheets of paper towels at the top and bottom before zipping up the bag or sealing the lid. The paper towel should absorb any excess moisture that would ordinarily result in lettuce going bad before you can use it. Have you ever wondered why lettuce wilts? It's because it loses water. In order to bring wilted lettuce back to life and make it last a bit longer, revive it by soaking the leaves in ice water for 30 minutes before using it. Soup is one of the best foods to make ahead of time and freeze, and one of the main ingredients for soup is stock. If you notice your veggies and herbs are starting to turn bad, freeze them in a plastic bag and then repurpose them for some homemade vegetable stock. Avoid using starchy vegetables like potatoes and turnips, but carrots, onions, garlic, leeks, thyme, and parsley all make for great options. When you are ready to make your stock, add water to a pot and add your frozen vegetables. Let all of that simmer for several hours and then strain out the vegetables and you'll be left with your vegetable stock. Fresh eggs in their shell will last for 3 to 5 weeks in the fridge. But if you hit week 5 and you still haven't used all those eggs, don't throw them away just yet because they will last another week longer if you hard boil them. So you can use this above picture as a guide to boil your eggs to your desired yolk consistency. Milk is very temperature sensitive and can go bad quickly if it is not kept at the right temperature. The shelves tend to stay colder than the door of the refrigerator since the doors open frequently during the course of the day. So, it's best to store milk on a shelf rather than the door to make sure the temperature of the milk stays cold. Bananas are a great fruit to eat. However, the only issue is that by the time one banana is ripe enough to eat, the whole bunch will become too ripe in a matter of days. To slow down this process, wrap some plastic wrap tightly around the crown of the bunch like shown in the picture above, which should extend the shelf life of the bananas by a few more days. So you may be tempted to wash your fruits and veggies as soon as you get home from the grocery store, but that just adds moisture to your produce, which can lead to the growth of molded bacteria. So wash your produce right before you intend on eating it to keep it fresh. However, there are always exceptions, and the one fruit that you want to make sure you do wash early is berries. You can extend their shelf life by quickly submerging them in a vinegar solution using the recipe here with 3 cups of cold water and 1 cup of white vinegar, and then draining them, thoroughly drying them, and putting them away. The vinegar water mixture helps kill any bacteria or spores that might make the berries mushy. So I know I've covered this many times in my other videos, but make sure you freeze your leftovers. If you have made a big batch of something delicious and are struggling to finish it, don't leave it to linger in the back of the fridge for days until it has to be thrown away. Instead, put it in a plastic container or a Ziploc baggie, label it with the content and date, and pop it in the freezer. This saves you from eating the same thing for days on end, and also means that on those days when cooking is just completely out of the question, there is something delicious you can just heat and then eat. Moisture is the worst thing that can happen to whole grains like barley, popcorn, oats, quinoa, wheat, and rice. It can make them go bad before you get the chance to use them. To keep these dry goods better for longer, they should be stored in airtight containers with tight-fitting lids. Glass or plastic containers or plastic bags with zippers all will do the trick, just as long as your container is secured tightly. My final tip is don't store onions, potatoes, or garlic in the fridge. Instead, store them in a cool, dry, well-ventilated space like the pantry. Keeping them in their original packaging like the ventilated bags seen in the picture above can also help keep them better for longer. The holes in the bags let the food items breathe better so they do not spoil as quickly. Another important thing to note is that onions and potatoes should not be stored together or next to each other because they make each other rot faster. So in conclusion, there are many ways to make foods last longer, so choose whatever tips work well for you and your lifestyle. Even doing some of these things can save you money and reduce food waste, so it's definitely worth your while. On another note, I have had a wonderful time making these nutrition videos for all of you. I hope that you have found them helpful and maybe have even inspired you to make some changes. Thank you all so much.